Tonight, New York's chief medical examiner has announced that Jeffrey Epstein's cause of death was suicide by hanging. This comes while his alleged victims continue to seek justice, one accuser filing a new lawsuit. And this is not because he died, but rather a brand new rule in New York that allows accusers more time to file these new suits. Now I want to turn to a special guest, someone breaking ground on many major stories right now. This is the first time on the beat for the new editor-in-chief of Cosmopolitan magazine, Jessica Pels. She's Cosmo's youngest such editor ever, and the magazine, which bills itself as a fresh, funny, and fundamental take on the news, is increasingly covering policy and politics. In fact, it was making waves with this feature in the wake of these mass shootings, profiling a top-secret investigator infiltrating these hate groups to try to stop the most violent men in the country. Other news organizations touted that story as a must-read. We should mention the magazine's also been covering 2020, and that since Pell took over, the website has now jumped to 26 million more visitors in the course of a year, which may be why the New York Times has profiled her, highlighting more digital experience than all past editors-in-chief. Jessica Pels on the beat. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
What do you think is important in how you're approaching these stories? We mentioned that work on tracking hate and the role of sexism and misogyny. And why do you think, as we mentioned, for our viewers who are interested in the way politics and civic engagement is changing, especially for young people in the Trump era, why are you finding more eyeballs for that?
Well, so Cosmo is the litmus and the voice for all things millennial culture. Our audience is 81 million strong. And the thing about young women is that they care a lot about what's going on in the world around them and how it impacts their safety and their success. A story like The Savants is an unfortunately timely story to tell. It's really important because of the devastatingly proud moment that misogyny is having in this country between the rise in incels and men's rights activists online and the dark domestic violence histories that a lot of the mass shooters in this country have. Again, it was a really timely story, and it's a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing for us to be able to reveal. We worked really hard on it for an entire year.
Well, and the way you put it, I think for viewers thinking about 2020, thinking about these candidates, how they reach people, if you're reaching tens of millions of young people who could be involved, who could be a voting bloc. How do you view that? When you tell a story like that, are you saying you need to know about this and the role of this online misogyny in potential violence against people, against women, mass shootings, because it's important to know? Or are you also saying there's something you can do about it, or you should back gun control?
It's absolutely largely about gun control, which is a primary issue for my audience. They tell us, we poll them all the time during the debates, between the debates, to see what their attitudes are in terms of the election, and gun reform is a huge issue for them. The first issue is actually health care, not just because of the attacks on reproductive rights, but because of cost and access. So these are all things that she's juggling all of the time, and we're making sure that she has the full perspective. In regards to The Savant, the interesting thing is that we're not seeing the stories of the men that she does catch. It's her misses who make headlines. And that's sort of a fascinatingly devastating thing for her as a person. After El Paso, for example, she took it really personally that she hadn't caught that shooter. And that's a hard burden to bear alone.
I also want to ask you about all the women running for president. Everyone knows more than ever before. Take a look about how this gender issue comes up sometimes on the trail.
A record number of women winning in the midterms, and yet today the New York Times is reporting some top Democrats are still asking the question, can a woman be elected president?
Are you sick of all the talk of how you'd be a perfect running mate?
I think that Joe Biden would be a great running mate. As vice president, he's proven that he knows how to do the job.
Kamala, very aggressive in a prosecutorial sense, but I just don't know if she's likable.
Democrat women said that they felt like they should vote for a man this time. What do you think when you hear that?
I think may the best woman win.
My final question to you is, how do you, running this magazine, address those issues, cover that, and speak to younger voters who, as you know, and I think as our audience knows, but we'll remind folks the actual data, overwhelmingly broke with their older generations or their parents in opposing Donald Trump?
Well, first of all, my audience and I find it thrilling that there is a record-breaking number of female candidates for president. But what's interesting is that in the last debate, my audience, 66% of them said that gender is actually not a deciding factor in who they will vote for in the election. For the majority of them, age and race are not either. What they're most concerned about are policies and a candidate who can get Trump out of office. Right now, for my audience, that seems like Biden. We'll see if he can stay in the lead.
That's really interesting coming from you, given the work you're doing, and for us to learn from you, because Cosmo here is clearly, as it's long been, but clearly a growing force. I hope you come back on the beat, Jessica.
Thanks, me too.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.